flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank everybody for coming out tonight. We do have 3 citizens that signed up for Citizens Time. First is George Reed. If you would, when you come up, please give your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is George Reed, and I had a question about the
Your address, please, Mr. Reed.
701 Putlow Street.
Thank you.
And I had a question about the sewer. What is sewer? Why are we paying sewer? Nobody not gonna answer?
Mr. Reed, we would like to, some of the questions that citizens ask, we would love to answer, but there's a rule that we cannot answer your questions directly.
But we will be happy to get back with an answer. Mr. Martin will be in touch with you and give you that answer. And he'll sit down and talk with you and tell you all about it.
All right.
Next is Dwight Morris. I think that's Morris. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's me. I signed the paper by mistake. I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Morris. Next is Jerry McCready.
Good evening, Jerry McCreary, 508 North High Street. So, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, City Manager, City Attorney. I'm here to present to the City Council a petition regarding the electric portion of the utility bills received this winter from the City of Franklin. A side effect of extreme cold was to cause a financial crisis for many residents and businesses. I have a petition here I'd like to present. Should I present it now? That's the original.
Okay.
I have copies if you.
Just leave a copy here. It'll be fine. That'll be fine. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm a little nervous talking, so bear with me.
No, don't be.
Actually, I do need a copy back so I can read it.
I'll give you the original.
All right, thank you. The petition reads as follows. To the Council of the City of Franklin, Virginia. The following terms are used in this petition. City means the governing body of the City of Franklin. Citizens and customers refer to as residents and businesses who are billed for electric power by the city. Whereas the City of Franklin exists for the benefit of the citizens, and whereas the citizens have incurred abnormally high electric charges due in part to the extreme cold weather in the months December 2017 through February 2018. Whereas the city increases the rate charged to customers, I'll cover this in that, charged to the customers in order to transfer monies to the general fund from Franklin Power and Light. And whereas the city should not impose undue burden on the citizens, the undersigned hereby petition the council to direct the city manager to immediately credit each customer's account no less than 10% of the total electric charges listed on utility bills for periods covering power used between December 1st, 2017 to February 28, 2018. Furthermore, all late payment penalties, fees, and disconnect reconnect charges incurred by customers due to hardship endured in this billing period referenced above shall be eliminated. I drafted the petition, so any grammar or typographic errors to mine. It's not written by a lawyer, so if there's any technical issues, I hope that it doesn't dismiss the spirit and intent of the petition. The petition is based on the following understanding: that the City of Franklin operates Franklin Power and Light Enterprise to generate funds to supplement the city's general fund. These funds are above and beyond the actual operating expenses and costs of Franklin Power and Light, as shown in the 2019 budget recently presented to the council by the director of Franklin Power and Light, Mr. Mark Bly. As such, the rationale of the petition is that the monies transferred to the general fund can accurately be identified as a tax. This petition seeks relief from taxes on electricity used, not the cost of electricity itself or its related expenses. The petition is limited to a specific time frame, as stated. It additionally seeks to eliminate associated late payment penalties and cutoff fees that could have been avoided if relief had been in place. I recognize there are some valid arguments against the request in the petition. The Tidewater News was gracious to print the petition. There were some online comments in opposition. The worst and the most harmful argument presented thus far against the petition is to suggest that the taxpayers and customers of Franklin are irresponsible and that a few citizens simply want a handout from the government to subsidize their electricity. One commenter went further to suggest that this is this negativity which discourages businesses from locating in Franklin. There are several problems with these arguments. Firstly, this petition is for tax relief, not a subsidy. The petition specifically states that it seeks tax relief for all customers of Franklin Power and Light, both residences and businesses, not just a few. Thirdly, there are good, hardworking, generous citizens in every ward in this city. Citizens and businesses are constantly being demanded to pay more taxes from local, state, and federal levels. A balance is needed. There are generous and responsible people in Franklin, working hard to supply not only our own needs, but including those of our neighbors who at times we have helped to pay their electricity bills. Fourthly, it is a fallacy to assert that acknowledging reality is a negative. Problems can only be properly addressed when honestly recognized. I'll further assert that the only true argument is to identify whether or not the city is in a financial position to provide tax relief in whole or in part to its citizens and customers, specifically in the recent time periods mentioned. In the fiscal year 2019 budget presented by Mr. Bly, 9% of the utility budget is transferred to the city's general fund. My understanding that's approximately $1.4 million for that 2019 budget. Averaging over 12 months, that equates to, if I'm correct, about $117,000 per month. If the petition were granted even for 1 month, I'm estimating that would be about the cost, credited back to as a tax credit. Again, one of the arguments opposing tax relief is that customers have not been responsible and should have prepared for such crisis. I would like to point out that by and large, most homeowners, renters, and business owners have enough common sense to be aware that it's generally cold in the winter, and as a result, they will be using more energy to keep warm. Franklin customers are right to question their high electricity bills. Firstly, there's been approximate 6% increase in electric from Franklin Power and Light from July 2015 to July 2017. The July 2015 rate is listed at $117.66 for 1,000 kilowatt hours, and increasing to $124.75 in July 2017. This is from a rate, I got this information from a rate sheet that Mr. Bly provided me. Furthermore, on that rate sheet, Franklin Power and Light electric utility is approximately 6.44% higher than people in the county would pay Dominion Power directly. I compared our utility bill, billing period January 20th through February 20th, 2018, to a Dominion Power customer in the Tucker Swamp area. The effective rate, when you include fuel surcharges, was that Franklin is 9% higher. So again, Franklin customers are justified in their concern about high electric costs when comparing to neighboring counties and cities. I don't know if it's an ordinance or not, but occupied residences and business pretty much have to have electric hookup to dwell in the city, and they don't have a choice but to get electricity from Franklin Power and Light. While not directly related to this petition, there is a question among citizens as to whether it is still a wise economic choice for the city to still own and operate electric utility enterprise. Personally, I don't know the history. When I moved to Franklin approximately 14 years ago, I was told that the city was able to buy power cheaper, electricity cheaper, and it was a benefit for the citizens. So, assuming that is the case, I don't know how it relates to today. So I'm not. I'll leave it at that. I do want to address some larger concerns about the state of the city.
Mr. McCurry, I'm going to let you go on, but typically we have...
Okay, I'm almost done.
Okay.
Okay. I understand. Thank you for your patience. The city of Franklin's faced many challenges over the last 20 years. Paper mill being sold, then closing, floods in '99 and 2006, businesses and wealthier families moving away, national housing market crash, 2008, national recession, and from what I understand, there have been in the past management in the city manager's office and on the school board. Current problems facing the city that I've recently come to understand, to me, are far more serious. According to the City of Franklin's 2016-2017 budget, the population of the city has decreased, I think about over 3% from 2010 to 2016. The median household income is approximately $32,400, which is about half of the state average. The per capita income is $21,621, approximately 2/3 the state average. The poverty rate is 19.4%, over 7 points greater than the state average of 11.2. I recognize that it seems counterintuitive to seek tax relief when the cost of running the city continues to rise. But the caution I present to the council is that continuing to raise taxes is not a long-term solution. If taxes continue to rise, those who can afford to leave the city will. And that would leave the city with even more financial challenges. For the council's consideration, with that, in light of the median household and per capita incomes, I believe the city needs to reevaluate salaries at the management levels and on the school board. I believe there needs to be measurable accountability for city management, school board, and all high salary positions. Citizens and taxpayers of Franklin need to consider what services they can actually afford to ask the city to provide. Most urgently, be aware that the increasing taxes have prompted taxpayers to decide if they want to remain in Franklin or find more economical residence elsewhere. Thank you for your time. May God bless you with wisdom, compassion, and courage in the duties you've been elected and hired to perform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCurry. Do we have any amendments to the agenda tonight? Okay. Hearing none, we have the consent agenda. We have the minutes of the March 12th, 2018 regular scheduled meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those meeting minutes? No. If not, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So be it. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye, motion carries. We also received the departmental reports under separate cover. Did anybody have any questions or issues with those reports that we received? Okay. If not, we move to a proclamation. I'm going to ask Vice Mayor to read the proclamation, please.
Proclamation for the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 8 through 14, 2018. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the City of Franklin, Police, Fire, EMS Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the City of Franklin have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Franklin declares the week of April 8 through 14, 2018, to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Franklin, Virginia, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Signed this date, 26th day of March 2018, by Frank M. Rabel, Mayor, City of Franklin.
Do I have a motion to adopt the proclamation?
Move for adoption.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you very much. Chief, if you would come up, I will present this.
You want to get a picture? You too quick.
He thought you wanted to save your camera.
I will now open up a public hearing for the sale of city property at the Airport Industrial Park. Is there anyone who would like to speak on that topic?
Good evening, Mayor Rabel, members of City Council, City Manager Martin, and City Attorney Williams. Tonight, I stand to speak in favor of the sale of properties surrounding the Franklin Airport Industrial Park, and specifically the former skating rink property. As you all are aware, the building is in a state of disrepair, and we have an opportunity to put the building in the hands of a private business through an adaptive reuse project, meeting their needs to expand and allowing us to retain them in the community. The building is beyond its useful life as a recreational facility and has a chance to now generate revenue for the city of Franklin and increase the tax base. The potential purchaser and his colleagues, as well as an employee, are here this evening also to speak in support of the sale. Thank you for your time, attention, and support of this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public hearing on the sale of the property at the Airport Industrial Park?
Good evening, Mayor Rabel and council members. My name is Kevin Roughton. I'm the owner of Quality Air Heat and Air Conditioning located here in Franklin. I've worked in the HVAC field here in Franklin since the early 90s and have owned and operated Quality Air since 2014. With the constant growth in our business, our company is outgrowing our current location, and with the current flood zone restraints and on building expansion and improvements, we have chosen to look for a new location for our office. I believe the former skating rink property would be a well-suited location for us to relocate to, because not only would it give us the room needed to expand, but it would allow us to keep our business here locally, and would let us take an existing building that has a certain amount of history, and instead of tearing it down, we can repurpose it for years of future use, and hopefully draw attention to other companies to the airport project. I've spent a great deal of time in the planning of the extensive renovations that will be needed to the property, and with 90% of the work to be done by local Franklin contractors, we are prepared to start those renovations fairly quickly if allowed to move forward with this project. I thank you for your time and consideration on this matter.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in regards to the sale of the Airport Industrial Park property?
Good evening. My name is Lauren Harper. I'm a commercial lender with Farmers Bank. I reside in the city at 121 Gillette Court. I have been banking Kevin Roughton since December of 14, when he formed Quality Air Company and purchased the HVAC division of S.W. Ross from Modern Oil. Kevin's been has been very diligent in achieving his business goals over the past 4 years and currently has 8 employees, all of whom reside in the Franklin and Southampton area. The purchase of the skating rink property will allow him to grow his business further and to better serve his clientele, most of whom are located in the city of Franklin and the counties of Southampton and Isle of Wight and the city of Suffolk. Kevin is a young and ambitious business person who concentrates on superior customer service, and certainly the presence of Quality Air Company in our market is a true benefit. Thank you for your consideration of these comments.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Anthony Goodwin, I guess. To the Honorable Mayor, to the City Council, I too stand to speak on behalf of Quality Air and the purchasing of the property. Knew Kevin very well, worked with him for quite a few years. He's a person of integrity, a person who does quality work. I knew the company, this city would be blessed and have someone that would represent our city very well. So I've come to just represent and support him in the effort of buying the property over on the Isle of Wight side. I do have, I live in Southampton County, but I also have houses here in the city of Franklin as well. We just come to support.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Williams, Mr. Martin, I'm Jim Hard. I reside at 24576 Delaware Road, Cortland, Virginia. And previous to that, I was a lifelong resident in Franklin, but I'm only a mile outside the city limits now. And I own and operate a company here in Franklin. Been here in business for a little over 40 years. And I'm certainly in support of Franklin having the opportunity to go outside of its borders a little bit and show that we're a supporter of our neighbors in Isle of Wight and also Southampton for economic development. And this affords us an opportunity, this development, to do such. To go out there, years ago we carried water and sewer out there in hopes that we would develop that area into the county and expand it, and I guess the time has come. And it's an opportunity for us to have smaller tracts of land out there for other businesses, so supporting this industrial park is a wonderful thing. But secondly, isn't it great that we have an opportunity that a local business wants to expand and stay in Franklin, wants to stay in the Franklin area and keep local employees and support our local businesses. I'm kind of tired of looking at the Taiwan News and other newspapers about businesses leaving and going out of business on a national level and local level, and here this young man wants to continue on locally. So I really do support Kevin and his endeavors. It's an opportunity to take a property, just like he said, that's not on the tax records now, put it on the tax records, increase the tax base, and give a seed type of a business out there that'll sort of set the precedence of what we are looking for in that area. And take a building that's been a little bit of an eyesore and make it pretty again. So I commend him on his efforts, and I hope that you all will give him your support too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the potential sale of the property at Airport Industrial Park? Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Regina Crockett. I live at 105 Scott Street in Franklin. I'm not too familiar with you guys. I'm a new resident here. I probably, well, not quite new. I've been here probably about 5 years, maybe 6. But I come to you dealing with the light bill here in Franklin.
We're having
Y'all finished with that?
no, we're having a public hearing on the sale of property.
Okay, no, I don't want to talk about the property, but I do.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on the sale of the property, potential sale of the property at Airport Industrial Park? Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on the potential sale of property at the Airport Industrial Park? Seeing and hearing none, I declare that this public hearing is closed. Okay. Thank everybody for the comments. For those people who didn't get a chance to speak, did not sign up for citizens' time, there will be an opportunity at every council meeting to sign up prior to the meeting to speak. So just need to do it before 6:55. Okay. Or you can do it at City Hall, correct, Teresa?
Yes, sir.
Just get in touch with Teresa and she can sign you up. Okay? All right, next we have the finance. Mr. Martin, you want to introduce that one?
Do you want the city attorney to comment on the
Oh,
this
yes,
item?
yeah, I'm
please?
sorry. Yeah, let him
Sorry.
come.
Council's comments on the public sale.
I'll come back to it.
Members of council, and for the public's benefit also, this tract of land was originally conveyed to the city as part of the airport back during the days when the area was an Army base. The property was actually conveyed to the city of Franklin, or to the town of Franklin at that time in 1948 and 1947, two different parcels of land. The FAA has released the property from being dedicated to the airport, so it is available for sale, and it actually has been for sale for many, many years. The map that is included in your council package indicates 64.790 acres. It's actually less than that. Where Repair Tech is located, I'll call it the intersection of John Beverly Rose Road going into the airport and Route 58, there was out-conveyed 6.492 acres, or might as well say 6.5 acres, from the 64.79 acres. That was done for the construction of Star Paper Tube, which operated a tubing business. They made the tubes that were used at International Paper to roll paper on for a number of years. Repair Tech bought that building and actually purchased another 1.2 acres from the city. There was a 100-foot strip of land between the Repair Tech building and Route 58. We saw no need to further hold that property. Repair Tech wanted to purchase it, and so they did purchase it, and that increased their property to about 7.6 acres. When we add back in the 2 acres for the skating park, because that was not included in the survey, it bounces the amount of land available back up to about 58 acres, as opposed to the 64 that's shown on that plat. Currently, you know, recently we cut all the timber off of the property, so the property is available for light industrial use. That is a by right zoning option that's available in Isle of Wight County. The city has sewer over there, or runs for, so let me back up, I guess, because it used to be the city sewer. It's no longer the city sewer over there, it's Isle of Wight County sewer. But there is public sewer to the property, there is public water to the property, there is city electricity to the property. It's in the city's operating zone, so the city does have electricity to the property, available at the property. The hope is that with the skating rink no longer being operated as a facility for recreation purposes, that maybe that moniker of being the skating rink will go away and it will become known as the Quality Air Building. Mr. Roughton would like to purchase the property. We are hopeful that he will be able to negotiate a sale that's suitable for him and suitable for the city. He's actually looking for a little bit more land than the 2 acres that is shown on this plat. He actually has made an overture at this point to go to 4 acres of land, so we're looking at that. We do not have any authority from the council yet to sign a contract on that, but we certainly are looking forward to having him as the owner of that property and expect that maybe to be on the next agenda, maybe not on the next agenda, then the agenda after that, sometime in April, though. So that's where we are. I would also, about left it out, 2 things. Further, the property is in the revenue sharing zone, so although it's located in Isle of Wight County, the city will benefit some from the revenue sharing zone on the property, and that's certainly why the entire parcel of land was put up for sale some time ago. Now that all the timber's been cut off of it, hopefully the property will appear better, have more traction, and we can sell other parcels in addition to what we're hoping to sell to Quality Air. And I think it's actually controlled by Isle of Wight. I'm looking for Amanda. Where are you, Amanda? There you are, way back there. I think the property is controlled by Isle of Wight as far as economic incentives. Is that correct? So we don't really play any role in that, but we would hope that Isle of Wight County would offer Mr. Roughton and his business some economic incentives to further induce him to come to the property. It will be a substantial renovation project that he will have to undertake. But that's, with all that said, I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions and/or comments about the potential sale?
Well, I'd just like to say I wish you well in your endeavor. But I would be remiss if I didn't say I hope that the city will look at diligently trying to find some sort of a way to provide some sort of a skating ring or activity for our young people. I'm sorry that skating ring has gone to history now, but I think it's imperative that we find things for our young people and youth to do. So I welcome you, commend you on your growth of your project, and wish you all well success, and hope that we as a council and a city will try to replace that skating ring to provide some sort of a recreation, because everybody out there one time was young, needed stuff to do. Idle mind is the playground of the devil. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I could mention one other thing, Mr. Martin was kind enough to remind me of one other thing. Certainly for many, many years, Isle of Wight controlled the property with a lease. There has been a voluntary termination of the lease. If council recalls, I think at the last meeting they voted to accept the lease and authorize the signature for the termination, and all of that has occurred. So now the city does have full control of the property.
And I'd like to just echo some of the things that were said. I think it's great to have a local business that wants to expand and stay in the area and keep people employed. So we look forward to the opportunity to bring it up, and hope the negotiations will go well. So, but anyway, but thank everybody for their comments. Thank you. All right, now we'll go to the finance side of it. Mr. Martin, you want to introduce him?
I'd just like to recognize Interim Finance Director Tracy Gregory to review with you the monthly financial report, or the end of February, I guess, financial report for the city.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Rabel, the City Council members, City Manager, and City Attorney. I would like to go over 2 sets of financial reports with you this evening. The first one will be highlights from the general fund for the period ending February 28th, 2018. one item to note is that this particular report reflects 8 months of revenues and expenditures. In some cases, revenue had to be accrued in order to report timely, relevant, and accurate financial data. The revenue highlights for tax collections. Overall, the general property tax collections are up as when compared to FY17 at this time. As you know, there are 5 different categories: real estate taxes, personal property taxes, penalty and interest on taxes, public service court taxes, and machinery and tools. There's a lot of data here. I'll just draw your attention to most of them is higher than last year, so that's good. We only have one area in penalties and interest that's a little lower than where we would want it to be projected. Though that's true, the good thing of why it's lower is because we have people, the treasurer's doing a great job of collecting taxes. You notice our delinquent taxes are really well in their collection at 81%, so it stands to reason penalties and interest would go down. This is a chart that gives you a general overview. What we have is your general property taxes as a whole is at 60% of budget compared to last year where it was 59%. To date, we have got about 79 grand more than we did this time last year, which is great. Our local tax revenue are made up of 4 different classifications: meals taxes, lodging, cigarette taxes, and sales taxes. All at 8 months, the local revenues as a whole will be short about $39,000. We hope we can make that up. It is primarily with a benchmark of 66.7%. Your column to the far right, you'll see it's the cigarette taxes and the local sales and use taxes that are down. But again, we're hoping that that'll come up with the spring. And again, at the bottom, 39,000, currently right now projected to be short. Our general fund revenue is at 12.68 mil, which represents about 59% of the budget. And when compared to last year, that's a $61,000 decrease. And the primary drivers of that decrease, I'll get to that in a second. When we go to the general fund expenditures, are at 9.49 mil, which is 56% of budget, which is great, and it is $502,000 less than this time last year. This is an overview of all the different categories of the revenues that make up your general fund, which I wanted just to note a few items. With permits and other licenses, you'll see where it is, it's short, but primarily that's due to a $180,000 payment that was made to Southampton County regarding their shared services. It related to last year, but it was made in this year. Our charges for protection, there's a variance there. 78,000 of it is just timing, where something was received February of last year and it was received March of this year. The good driver there that's doing that positive variance is $81,000 more of ambulance charges this year, fees, than we had last year, and I know that's been a concern. For miscellaneous, the drivers of that positive variance, of course, is the sale of property and timber that we've had in fiscal year 18, which of course we didn't have in the prior year. And the categorical aid, why there is a decrease in that particular line is because in FY17, there was a $246,000 VDOT primary extension paving award that we did not have in this year. For expenditures, this gives you by department your prior year's expenditures, this year's budget, this year's year-to-date, and then a variance. I just wanted to note a few of the larger variances. One was for police. You'll notice that it was, expenses are a little higher this year. That is primarily due to the $85,000 vehicles that has been purchased in FY18. In public works, street maintenance, again, kind of relates to the revenue. There was a $247,000 asphalt expense in FY17 that we didn't have this year. And the last one, the payments to Southampton County, the variance of $500,000. Again, that's just a timing difference. That payment was made in March. Next, I'm going to go over the enterprise funds. It's for the same time period. Enterprise funds are based on full accrual. The airport fund, they're at 73% of their fuel sales and airport rental fees, but that's offset by only 58% of their expenditures have been spent today. Their cash balance is at $315,000. The water and sewer fund, for the revenue, it is slightly above target. Target being 66 is at 69. The expenditures are at $1.1 million, which is $63,000 higher than the prior year. But that relates primarily to some contractual services and engineering services that are being utilized by that division for some of their long-term infrastructure work. Their cash balance is $1.42 million, which is down from the prior year, or for the prior month. And again, that's with some of these contractual services being paid. Solid waste, they're slightly below target at 65%, but, sorry about that. Their expenses are only at 55%. So they're doing well there. Their solid waste, you'll notice there was a drop in their cash balance, but that was due to purchase of a garbage truck that took place in February. Cash balance 132. Next is the electric fund. Right now, the revenues are slightly above target at 71%. And then the next chart tells you in those four categories how that's broken out between the sale of energy, fuel adjustment and residential, sale of energy commercial, and the cycle and save. The expenditures are at 60%, and it's also lower than it was this time last year, but primarily due to that true-up credit of $544. This is your electric fund cash analysis. You'll notice the drop in cash that we've had since December. The cash in the electric fund is at $1.7 million, which has decreased about 30-some thousand from the prior month period. It is meeting the minimum policy guidelines right now, but not by much, only $218,000. The final slide in this presentation shows electric fund billed versus payment analysis. And on the first chart, it shows that there's a $1.8 million deficit. I just want to caveat that, show the statement below it that says the monthly adjusted billing reflects billings that are not due until the next month. And the monthly total payments reflects payments received for previous month's billings. What all that means is, if you looked at July 17th and those payments you see in that column for $890,000, that was really related to prior month's billings. If you look at February 18th's payments, that was really January. So if I were to take out the payments for July and the charge for February, the electric fund's running about $480,000 short compared to what they bill out. And I hope to bring something a little different than this. I know this is what you've accustomed to using, but more of an aged AR analysis So that'll give you an idea of how often the receivables are turning. And that'll give maybe a truer picture. Okay, now entertain any questions you may have.
Do you already have any questions, Ms. Gregory?
With these on accrual based, can you tell us what I don't think I saw it, what our accounts receivable is?
I don't have that right off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's what I'm hoping to bring in, those aged ARs in, so we can actually see how your compare it to prior years, how they're turning, and address any concerns.
Okay.
Yeah.
On your slide for the revenue analyst, you're saying the prior revenue for electric was 10 million, correct? 10,049,505.
Yes, 10,939,000. Are you talking about this slide, sir, right here?
No, the one that says electric fund, and it has revenue allowances.
Okay, here you
Okay.
This one right here? Okay.
My glasses, I can't.
Well, no, you're.
Okay, that might be it. So you're saying
see
that the
this.
prior revenue was 10,049,505,
Yes,
but you're anticipating it being 15 million.
that was based on the approved budget, yes, for FY18. That's the budget.
That includes the 500,000, well, this is 5 million more. So,
The anticipated is the full 12-month budget that was approved for the FY18 budget.
okay, I'm not an accountant.
The first column is look at the first
The
and the
prior
third.
revenue, what you
Look at
mean?
the first and the third and compare those.
Are we on the same sheet?
First and the third. The prior revenue and the year-to-date revenue are the same. They're 8 or 9 months. The one in the middle is it's for the full 12 months.
year.
total
So for the
budget.
12 months, we're looking at making 15 million
That's what
opposed to
we're-
the
Yeah,
prior years.
That was part of the balance
The
budget.
prior year is only 8 or 9 months.
Okay. Okay, so we're making, I mean, for the common layman, which I'm one, it seems, are we making more off of electricity than we did last year? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Other questions, Ms. Gregory? Anybody have any other questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Tracy, do you want to do the budget amendment while you're up there? Go ahead and cover that. Don't get away too quick.
I don't know. I don't think he put that on here.
All right, do you have it? Oh, I'll be glad to review it if you don't. Yeah. I'll review it, and then if Ms. Gregory's needed to ask any questions, we'll attempt to do that. You have before you 2018-11 is the budget amendment for this. It recognizes revenues from the Commission for the Arts to appropriate revenue for new uses, reduces, and these are just summary comments, reduces appropriations in the EMS department and transfers it to a foundation grant to fund equipment for that department. A carry forward of unspent appropriation for the Oversee Healthcare Grant to the Department of Social Services, and additional state appropriations that are available to social services for child welfare, substance abuse, and supplemental services with required local match. You see the by fund breakdown of all of those categories. We'll be glad to answer any questions. What the amendment is balanced, and be glad to try to answer any you have on it.
Questions for Budget Amendment 2018-11?
Yes. Can anyone tell me specifically what is the arts grant matching fund being used for?
Okay, well, as you and I previously discussed, the city appropriated $5,000 for this fiscal year. The city is the pass-through grantor. We apply for the grant funds from the state to match that, and those funds are then appropriated directly to the Rawls Museum for their programs and activities, which they made a new budget request they have every year. And they do programs within the educational system, schools, and that's part of their operating budget for that organization. And as well as they do art exhibits and operate the Rawls Museum located in Cortland.
I would ask, I feel compelled to ask that we would have someone from the museum come and explain to us, share with us some of the things that they have done and are doing with these funds before we just arbitrarily pass them through. And I understand what the city manager said, and I asked him about this earlier today. And I guess my question was more directed to my colleagues. Can anybody tell me specifically what these people are doing that we keep giving them money every year? Because I called there today, I got an answering machine, I've gone by there before, and the place is usually closed. And I'd just like to know that we are being prudent. I don't have a problem with doing a grant pass through to them, but I do think that we should know. And if my colleagues do know, then I can take my colleagues' word for it, what they're doing. But I would like to know that someone on council is familiar with how the funds are being used before we amend it.
They have come and they make specific requests of different programs that they're going to be doing. I can't right now tell you exactly what they do. I know they're for the educational side of it, working with the schools on bringing in exhibits, getting the kids involved in different kind of reading programs and those type of things that supplement and augment. All we do is really just apply for the grant and pass it right through to them. So it's not.
Well, my understanding from the city manager, we match the funds.
We get a grant from the state and then we match that.
Then we use the taxpayers' monies to match that grant. So
it's for the schools and
that's kind of general, Mr. Mayor, wouldn't you say?
I told you,
specific?
I think I answered you that I don't have the specifics, but we can certainly have somebody from the library come.
That's all I would ask before we approve it, just have
that's
somebody.
fine.
Well, this is this year's budget.
Yeah,
Now,
it's already been
new
approved.
request. This has already been approved.
Yeah, it's already been approved.
This is
for
just appropriating the grant because we weren't approved for it when we adopted the budget. But we talked about this during the last budget cycle and the one prior, and did have someone provide us documentation on programs. I didn't know if they were going to attend tonight for next year's budget request, but we certainly can ask them for more documentation to support their request for the upcoming budget.
Mr. Mayor, I know one program that they do is a art show in the spring where they ask the students of all the local high schools and I guess middle schools, I think, to present their artwork, and it can be of any type, and it's judged and awards are given, and they bring in artists from surrounding areas and they have their work on display because I get an invitation to a viewing of that work. So those are types of things that I know that they're doing.
But we can certainly, we'll certainly encourage them to come and talk to us about the 2018, 2019 budget. Okay. Other questions? What is the pleasure of council?
Move for adoption of budget amendment 2018-11.
Second.
I have a motion in 2 seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 Aye. Nay.
Aye.
And aye. Budget Amendment 2018-11 passes. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we'll get into the old and new business. Mr. Martin, you want to give us an electric billing update, please?
Yes, sir. I distributed this to City Council both for purposes of the audience and those watching. I'll hit the highlights. What I committed to do to the council at the last meeting was to get you a comparison of the February billing period compared to the prior month's period when we had the extremely elevated bills. The total February billing to electric customers was $1.4 million. I'll just round it off, compared to the January billing of $2.1 million. This reflects a decrease of just under $690,000, or 32.8% reduction in overall billings. Looking specifically at residential only electric bills for February of 2018, they reflected usage decreasing from 1,566 kilowatt hours, totaling an average bill for all residential customers of $191.58 for the month, compared to the prior month's elevated bills that reflected usage of 2,661 kilowatt hours and an average bill of $319.88 for residential electric service only. That was an average reduction of a little over $128 per customer, residential customer, or approximately 40.1%. Just for further comparisons, we compared the VEMA bill that we pay for wholesale power for February to the prior month, and we saw a reduction. I won't go through all the numbers, they're there, but this reflects a 32.3% reduction between the billing periods. Also, for good information, staff contacted the State Corporation Commission to inquire about statewide high bill contact data. The agency has received this calendar year and late in the prior calendar year compared to the prior year for all regulated electric utilities that are under the SCC review. Even though the city is not subject to that oversight of the SCC, the data does provide comparables for consideration of the high bill comments that Franklin received compared to other utilities that experience the same weather-related impacts. The SCC high bill calls or complaints were reported as follows: December of 17, and this is for the billings that would have gone out the prior month. December of 17 contacts were down about 27% from December of 16, and then the January billings contacts were up 173% over January of 17. January of 18 was up 173% over January of 17. February of 18 contacts were 152% higher over February of 17. I think this is safe to say this data confirms that electric utility providers throughout the state and their customers were impacted in like manner to Franklin utility customers by the extremely cold temperatures and severe weather events of the winter, and resulting higher bills that were sent for services received in the December and January time frame. As far as the last item I wanted to report on, the council had directed as part of your relief package that I'll call it, that you approved for customers, allowing payment plans and directing other actions be taken by the administration. The analysis of the electric utility reading and billing aspect that was authorized by council, I'd reported that Director Bly and I had met with at least one firm at the last meeting with expertise in doing such analysis. We've since contacted 3 additional firms. Tonight I can say that we're still awaiting one firm to give us a response, but we've received 2 quotes at this point, or proposals, if you will, to meet the scope of services that we outlined. We're still awaiting a final word from the fourth firm, excuse me. We expect to finalize an agreement with the provider hopefully this week. We're going to do a final follow-up with that last firm. If they don't produce it, then we'll compare the 2 that we have received. One firm declined to pursue the process once we went over the scope and the timing that the city desired the study to be completed in. Based upon our discussions to date, we hope that we'll be able to provide this, complete this activity within 60 to 90 days after an agreement is reached with a provider, and we hope to finalize the provider agreement this week, if at all possible. So within 60 to 90 days, we should have a report produced, independent report by a third party. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. We're still negotiating the final details, but I feel like we'll be able to get a very qualified firm that has not previously done any work for the city directly as a result of the proposals we've already received.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Martin on his update?
I have a question.
Oh,
Go ahead. You can
go ahead.
Actually, I have two. I'll start with the first of what exactly, for the citizens who might be listening at home or in the audience, what exactly can you tell them are the criteria that we are requesting the analysis be done on, or specifics that we are requesting the analysis to be done on?
Okay, I'd like Mark Blythe would come up and review the scope of work that we've discussed with him, since he is the director, and can comment on that, and I'll add anything that I have to add in addition.
Good evening. To answer your question, really did not bring my scope of work that we've presented to the companies that we've talked to. But the one thing is, they will be reading meters with their own equipment at the same exact time that we're reading our meters. They will be selecting 15% of our customer base, which equates to 823 meters. They'll be doing that selection. At that time, they will also be verifying that the meter that we say is there is actually the meter that is there. Once the reading is completed, then they will verify how we're sending our readings back to City Hall's utility billing system, and verifying that those readings are correct from the same readings that they took. And they're going to do some various other things for us while they're there, inspecting the installation and any dangers that they might see. I can provide you with
That was pretty close. I was
with the
just
scope
reviewing
of
it.
work that I sent out to them. I just don't have it with me this evening.
You hit it pretty close, the highlights.
Mr. Bow, are they going to do anything with the even application of rates across the city?
They'll review what rates we have in our system. We will be doing a rate study, which is separate from this company. They don't do rate studies. I mean, we have one residential rate, contrary to some's belief. We have one small commercial rate. We have one medium commercial rate. We have one large commercial rate. We have a church and synagogue rate, and we have a municipal service rate.
And speaking directly in further detail to Councilman Burgess's question, they will be dispersed evenly throughout the entire service area of the city, and all customer classifications will be included in the survey.
This company or the
No,
rates
this
that-
company.
So they'll test the rates to make sure they're being applied
Right.
Yeah.
appropriately.
They'll follow it through from
We're not going to
when
do
they
just
take
one
the
area.
readings
They'll
through the
be
system.
applied throughout the entire jurisdiction, in and out of the city, as business classifications, all of the groups. There'll be a representative sample of each group, and they'll pick the customers.
They will, each rate we have, whether it's residential or say commercial, it has a rate code. There's several rate codes. You have a rate code for the residential rate, which is 401. You have a rate code for the fuel adjustment charge, which is the same for everybody. You have a rate code for the local tax. You have a rate code for the state consumption tax. So they'll verify each account that they have read to make sure that all those rate codes are proper for that customer.
I heard, in layman's terms, I heard they're going to be checking the meters across a certain amount of people. They'll pick them around the city. That is partially, and I know you said you didn't bring your stuff, but I'm concerned with checking other equipment that provides, I guess you could say, data And for instance, if there is a problem that is prior to the meter, what other equipment is going to be checked? As far as what are you requesting them to look at? Because the reason I say that, and I understand that there is a difference, but from what I understood of emails and information that I've read, the situation we have with the school, the meters were giving accurate information, and the city was charging based on what the meter had
You
said.
have false information.
Well, I could bring the email, but what I'm saying, so I'm concerned that if there is a problem, because I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I know the electricity starts coming into the city from certain points, and then it's distributed out to the city. I'm concerned with when we go checking our system to make sure everything is right, we are not just checking the final numbers, but what is sending the information to the meter, these different areas. So if you're just looking at the final outcome of the meter, I don't know if we will be able to discover if we have a mechanical issue. Now, when you were here before us last time, you spoke in regards to $300 and some thousand that is wasted, that's just normal. $300,000 is a lot of money. So I'm not concerned as much with just, yes, I do want these meters checked by without a question. But I think that we are limiting ourselves when we bring in this outside firm to specifically say, well, just check our meters. When if there is a problem that is in another area, it's easily undetected because they weren't asked to look at that. They were only asked to look at the meters.
I have no idea what you want us to check. We can have a line laying on the ground burning your yard. The only thing that meter's gonna measure is what you're using inside the house, okay? The line losses that I'm talking about are for us having a system that's old, that's made of too small of a wire, that this city council has refused to give us money over the last 50 years to make system improvements. So yes, that is a cost of doing business, is our line loss. I don't know what else we can check.
So in other words, then you didn't need to bring nothing else. All you're checking is the meters.
No, if we can clarify, the only two things that have any bearing on customer bills are the meters and the billing system that takes the data from the meters and transfers it and then sends out the bills. The
I can
computer
relate to
system,
that.
that's
And
it.
For my colleagues' knowledge, I asked the city manager, could I go on a ride-along, and I haven't gotten a response back yet.
You were invited and you didn't show up.
No, I was not.
Yes, sir.
invited. Come on,
I
now.
apologize.
Come on. No,
All right,
you did
that's-
not ask me about that, man.
All right, that's enough. We'll, questions, please.
But on a side note, if we're losing, and Mark,
please.
nothing directly, but if we're losing $300,000, I think the question is, how do we help find where the $300,000 is being lost at, so it don't increase the rates to the purchaser, correct?
Actually, I can comment on part of that, and I'll leave to Mark for the technical aspects, but that is losses that are within industry standards, as he pointed out. The average was 5%, I believe, and we have a little higher than that at 6%. It's just a small, but that's related to, we also have included in that in the system losses, if I remember, the part that's going in street lights that is not billed.
But it wouldn't be a big enough factor to find an adjustment to make a difference in the rate
No.
to the consumer.
Well,
It would be
have brand new
impossible
systems,
to
there might be
eliminate
some.
system losses. Like I tried to explain at the previous meeting, Department of Energy has listed the average system loss across all utilities at about 5.4%. Typically, our city of Franklin losses is approximately 4%. With the extreme cold weather that we've had, our year-to-date was about 6%.
We have losses, for example, in the water system too, that leaks and other things. So it's a very similar scenario. You're never going to have 100%, even a brand-new system has losses, whether it be water, electric, or whatever.
Mr. Johnson had a question.
Okay, yes, I'd like to make a comment at this time. I'd like to thank the city manager and Mr. Bly for moving forward, finding the companies that would come in and do an analysis, because the bottom line is we deal with facts, figures, and reality. So basically, once that's cleared up, the system is checked, the meters are checked, generators are checked, then we'll have the knowledge of what's going on with the system. Right now, we're just speculating, but we'll have the knowledge of independent individual checking out the system, and that will clear up a lot of unanswered questions. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, my second question that I had, I wanted to pose to my colleague, Mr. Cutchins. Didn't we say that when this was brought up in our meeting, that a RFP was going to have to be sent out in order to look at these questions? Mr. Cutchins, didn't they say that we had to send out RFP for this?
That's not
I remember it being said that it would be a possibility and they would look into it to see if it was needed or not. I remember it that way.
a lot of it depended on the size of the contract and those type of
And
things.
we've determined that we can comply with our procurement guidelines.
And I think that was shared with us at our last meeting.
Initially, I think it was raised that we thought it would have to be, yes.
Because I had said, why do we have to wait? We could go with ADM, who did it for the schools, and I was told we'd have to put out an RFP. Okay, thank you.
But ADM doesn't want to do it anyway, right?
Well, they did put
They
in a
did put in-
proposal, but they are not, what they provided the schools had nothing to do with this. They did a specific analysis of an existing commercial building, a school building, not any kind of study
Okay.
like we're discussing here. But they did propose.
Well, we're ready to move on it, and you hope to have a contract and ready to roll by the end
And
of
we'll
this
keep
week.
you apprised of the
Thank you.
progress on that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bly.
Mr. Mayor, what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can go ahead. Timeline, once we issue contract and go through the process, we'll get a report. Still, I think we gave until August.
Oh, 60 to 90 days, so we'll have
It'll be
it
before then.
June.
Okay, good.
Sooner the better.
That's the expectation, maybe sooner. They
Can you provide council with specifics of what they will be looking for?
I always said we would, yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions on that? All right, the USDA grant 2018-01. You going to take that one, Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir. As I said in the agenda package, I'm pleased to report that the United States Department of Agriculture has awarded another grant to the city to assist with the purchase of one replacement vehicle. Council had authorized previously a grant application for the purchase of 2 vehicles, but unfortunately only one was received. The last time we received one, it took 2 cycles to get funded, so we're pleased that at least got one this year. And you're asked to approve the resolution 2018-01, which will allow us to move forward to acquire the vehicle.
All right. Mr. Burgess, do you mind reading that resolution, please?
Resolution of Governing Body of City of Franklin, 2018-01. The City Council of the City of Franklin, consisting of 7 members, and a duly called meeting held on the 26th day of March 2018, at which a quorum was present resolved as follows. Be it hereby resolved that in order to facilitate obtaining financial assistance from the United States of America, United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, the government, in the purchase of police vehicles and equipment to serve the community, the City Council does hereby adopt and abide by the covenants contained in the agreements, documents, and forms required by the government to be executed. Be it further resolved that the mayor and city manager of the City of Franklin be authorized to execute on behalf of City Council the above referenced agreements and to execute such other documents, including but not limited to debt instruments and security instruments as may be required in obtaining the said financial assistance. This resolution, along with a copy of the above referenced documents, is hereby entered into the permanent minutes of the meetings of this City Council. in the City of Franklin, the entity named by Frank M. Rabel, will be attested to, and a certification. I hereby certify that the above resolution was duly adopted by the City Council of the City of Franklin in a duly assembled meeting on the 26th day of March 2018, signed by the Secretary Clerk.
And just for clarification, that's a standard form resolution. There is no debt involved in this particular transaction.
All right. Do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the USDA grant resolution 2018-01, signify by saying aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. City Manager's report.
Just to remind you of the items that were listed in the upcoming schedule for council's benefit so that you have it on your calendars. Specifically, we now have a scheduled date for our joint meeting with the school system due for several reasons, due to scheduling conflicts and particularly spring break that's coming up next week. We had hoped to have it by the end of March, but we came up with April the 10th on the Tuesday after your next regular council meeting at 6 o'clock, and it says to be determined, but I've confirmed with the superintendent it'll be in this room. The school system representatives will present their formal budget request. We had the work session previously where they gave you an update on what was requested of them. They're all their requests, but they will actually present what the school system request for next fiscal year is at that meeting. We also have in there other dates of importance. Just want to remind you that the FSEDI Partners in Progress State of the City County event was snowed out on the 13th and has been rescheduled for this Thursday, the 29th at 7:30 a.m. Down at the main event on Main Street. And Spring Amnesty Week for the citizens, I want to mention, is April the 2nd through the 6th next week. So we hope citizens will take advantage of that and put out all of the items that are allowed to be collected by the city. We relax several of the rules to collect all of those items during Amnesty Week twice a year. And the spring one will be April 2nd through 6th. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
What time was the school board meeting? I'm sorry.
6 o'clock.
Do it at 7.
Thank you.
What date is that?
10,
Yeah.
Tuesday, April 10th.
Can you,
That's on the budget.
Yes.
should we try for something? Should we try for something?
Yeah, why couldn't we make that at 7 o'clock school board meeting like I had requested? I'm going to not be able to make a 6 o'clock meeting that night, 2 nights in a row of that week.
I'll be glad.
Which
to
I think
come
I
back.
expressed that concern to you back when we talked.
Yeah, and, well, you would hope that it would be later. I do recall that discussion, and I don't have a problem with it, certainly, and I don't know that they will, so if that's a consensus, we haven't put the notice out, we can move it to 7.
Well, check with them first and then,
Yeah, we'll
just get back
confirm.
with us and let us know. I think 7 o'clock.
I'll second that idea.
I know we got, try to make it accommodating for everybody as possible.
Yeah, 7 would be better.
Okay. All right? Okay.
Y'all changing it for me.
All right. Council staff reports on boards and commission. Anybody have anything?
Yeah. We had a jailhouse meeting. It was a pretty standard meeting. I'm going to defer a little bit here to Mr. Martin. It appears that the budget is going to go up slightly this year if the numbers hold like they are presently. That was, they were looking for a bigger increase, but that was mitigated somewhat because they went up on the feds a little bit. The warning is not to let that be a budgeting factor to balance the budget by using the feds because they can drop off in one phone call. The other topic that was discussed is that our interest rate on our bonds is going to go up there through Davenport. They're going to go up because the feds are going up, and if they stay at the current rate, they will not be attractive to investors. and be sold off probably. I don't think that affects anybody with the Virginia bond. And I'll go to Mr. Martin or Mr. Johnson, either one.
Well, like I said before, Mr. Martin, we have a sale for the property. Can't say who it is right now, but I think it's for about $500,000. We have a sale.
It's being looked at, and we've allowed the superintendent to go back and tell them that's our minimal regardless.
Yes.
Right.
I don't have anything to add. This is a question.
Any other boards and commissions reports? Okay. If not, before I entertain a motion to go into closed session, I have a statement that I need to read. I'm making this statement of a personal interest in a transaction pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3112A and Virginia Code Section 2.2-3115F. The transaction is related to property or business that is to be part of a closed session discussion by City Council tonight under proper motions to go into closed session. I will not vote on in any manner, act on behalf of the property or business, and I will not attend any portion of the closed session discussion, and I will not engage in any discussion with any member of City Council while my personal interest in this transaction continues to exist. During any discussion of the property or business during any time City Council is in open session, I will ask the Vice Chairman to take over the meeting for me and excuse myself from the City Council chambers until all discussions of the property or business is complete. And I'm signing this on today, March 26, 2018. I will now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Franklin City Council meeting closed session to discuss appointments to boards and commissions and to discuss a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the businesses or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1 and 5.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye. We go into closed session. Thank you all very much for coming. Have a good evening.